This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
It's time to head to the bright and sunny land of Barcelona and visit the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. It's round 8 of the Precision Racing League GTE Sports Car Series. The Catalunya circuit is an incredibly busy track, hosting everything from Formula 1 to MotoGP. But what a track though. For racing, it's right up there with plenty of places to overtake, to defend, and opportunities for side-by-side action from multiple corners. Let's get ready to go green on the Global Sim Racing channel. My name is Ryan Jones. Alongside me in the booth is Jane Kennedy, filling in for Stephen Schlatter. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Let's take a closer look at this fast and flowing circuit with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona. The home of the Spanish Grand Prix for nearly 30 years, it's easy to forget that this is a relatively recently built track in Europe. It's known for its long, sweeping corners and hosts the highest level of open-wheel and motorcycle racing. Placing an emphasis on a good aerodynamic setup with high downforce cars, it's often overlooked that it offers plenty of overtaking for lower-tier racing as well. In fact, most don't take into account that this adaptable track has 5 different layouts to choose from. These range from the nearly 3-mile-long Grand Prix version to the minuscule 1-mile club circuit. Because of the pit straight being the longest acceleration zone, Elf is the most likely spot for drivers to get a pass done. After that, your next hope might be into La Caixa, which, depending on which layout you use, could be a sharpened set of 2 turns or one long hairpin with an opening radius. In the early 2000s, a chicane was added close to the end of the lap, but the old Europe car corner can still be run. The Spanish fans have some gorgeous views from the many hills dotted along the track. And with the international fame this place has built over time, it's no wonder they're almost always full come race day.
That is a look at our 16-corner, 4.65 kilometre racetrack that we are tackling today. Jay, let's bring you into the conversation. What extra little tidbits have you got for us on this circuit?
Yeah, amazing circuit. As you said, it hosts everything from F1 to MotoGP, of course, BMW test track as well. So lots of usage for this circuit, but a very, very famous layout. The layout using is the Formula 1 Grand Prix layout, which is fairly new in regards to track layouts. You think about this circuit, it's been around for a long time, since the early 90s, but this version only used since around 2010. So a few modifications to the circuit. Of course, 60-minute race for these drivers as well, including a pit stop, which should shake up the strategy, whether you pit early pit late, the way the tyres evolve throughout the race. Very, very interesting way the strategy will play out. Looking forward to seeing how it does play out as well.
Yeah, certainly should be a good one. As always, it's time that we thank our sponsors that make this happen for you all. As always, today's race is brought to you by Simsa. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between the two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Sorry about that. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by Buttkicker. Buttkicker products create an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sports Car Series will get a Buttkicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the team's championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. And if we talk about the championship, let's have a look at how the drivers' standings line up. It is a pretty close fight, Jay. It's 7 points separating Abner Acosta and Christian Eisler.
Yeah, very, very tight between them. Modoff in third, of course, not far behind as well. Had a few wins in this series as well, but a couple of disappointing ends as well. So while the top two look a little bit closer to Ryan third, Modoff looking like he could come up and steal that away. So it'll be interesting to see how it does play out. The rest of the field also very, very tight the whole way through. So good looking championship.
And the team standings as well. It's a 74-point buffer for Punto CL Racing Blue out front, back to RSR Esport. SRT Sport Blue just 10 points adrift of second. GTR Sim Sport looking strong in fourth and fifth. GTR Sim Sport Blue in the fifth spot, 95 and 140 points adrift for them. And we'll have a look now at our race details as well. Jay, talk us through it.
Yeah, so round 8 of this 10-round championship with the 4 GTE cars, fairly even spread amongst all 4 of our GTEs out there, the Porsche, Ferrari, the Ford and the BMW. A 60-minute race, as we said before, and 20 incident limit. 1 pit stop required throughout the race as well. Roughly 40 odd minutes of fuel, so we'll see that anywhere from the 20 to 40 minute mark of the race, which means that we will have all sorts of strategy games playing out throughout. Pit stop, always a good chance to overtake it. Much easier to pass in the pit lane than it is out on track, especially at this circuit, which is synonymous with tough overtaking.
Yes, certainly, but there are places you can get it done. That long main straight offers up plenty of opportunity with a good run out of the final corner to make something happen down at turn 1. Also, this back straight as well offers up a great opportunity into the almost hairpin at the end of the long straight. Qualifying currently underway then. It's currently Abner Acosta out front by half a second to Horatio Calquin there in second. Christian Eisler sitting in third, just a couple hundredths adrift of him. We're watching Horatio Calquin now, making his way through the final corners of the circuit, about to head into the chicane. And we'll see whether he can pull off an improvement here. Abner Acosta in front of him as well. Is making his way around the final corner. So Calquin through here. This is a part of the track where it's a little bit different to the rest of the circuit. There's a lot of stop and go with this with the chicanes. but you've got to launch off the final corner here very well.
Yeah, and basically you've got to set it up 2 corners before to get that launch onto the front straight. So you don't necessarily want to fight too hard with the driver ahead of you. You want to force the driver ahead of you to defend, but you take the normal line, you get the momentum out of the chicane, and then you've got it down the front straight to potentially get a move. So you really have to structure your passes very, very well at this track. If you don't structure the pass well early on and plan your passes 2, 3, 4 corners ahead, you'll find yourself in a lot of trouble. So you're making sure you set those passes up very, very crucial. Second and third, very, very tight on the timing sheets as well. So a few drivers yet to put in lap times, but it is a very, very tight grid at the moment if you take the first place away for Abner Acosta.
Certainly, and of course we saw last week the absolute domination from Kyle Modorf, one of the best performances I've seen at Mount Panorama. He's currently sat there in 4th place, and we heard from Acosta after that race saying that he was just trying to hold on in round 7. He knew that it was one of his weaker tracks on the schedule, and that he was feeling more confident about the rest of the season. And so Modorf is going to need to find a little bit more here if he wants to fight back in this championship. So of course we mentioned he's 17 points adrift. Christian Eis is in 2nd between them as well, and Eis is only in 4th now. He's actually propped himself up ahead of Modorf. So for Acosta here, he's right where he needs to be. There's just 2 rounds left after this one. As long as he finishes ahead of these drivers, he's got the championship wrapped up. But if he makes one single mistake, Horatio Calquin and Kyle Modorf, they're going to be right there to pounce.
Yeah, and Acosta's just gone quicker again. So he's really, really putting the hurt on the rest of this field. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, as you said, Modorf last week dominant, finds himself a little bit further back, but a track that he probably prefers. So it'll be interesting to see if he can work his way forward from there. And the rest of the guys there, with how close they are in qualifying, it's going to shape up to be a very, very interesting race in that top echelon of the field.
Tyler Tzube has put himself into 2nd place too, in front of Horatio Calquin by all of 1,000th of a second. I mean, you said it was tight. It doesn't get much tighter than that. Abner Acosta, he's got some of the pace that Modorf had last week. It's 6/10 the gap from him to 2nd place. And if no one can get closer than that at the end of qualifying, I have a funny feeling that Acosta might be picking up where Modorf left off last week and just running away with this one, barring mistakes, because 6/10 of a second is a ridiculously big margin.
It's huge in these cars. I mean, it's not the longest circuit out there as well, so to have such a massive lead when it comes to qualifying is very, very different. I mean, it's tough with how long the track is to use draft or anything like that to your advantage to get those qualifying times in as well. So surprised that he's got such a big gap. So he'll now have to work with that pace if he can hold on to that gap when the race comes around. Also just saw that Christian Eisler also just improved his time, I should say, but wasn't able to gain any positions. But a few drivers out there trying to get laps in. So we could see this timing sheet shuffle around a little bit in these last couple of laps.
Christopher Albright is one of the 2 drivers yet to set a lap time. He's just come across the line to begin his first lap. Paulo Munoz is the other driver, so there's still 2 people yet to set representative laps. Munoz was up and around the top 10 last week out, so he'll be trying to qualify somewhere around there again. He's making his way now through the chicane. He's on lap 5, so he's had a fair few cracks at this. Barcelona is a track where it's quite easy to pick up an off track, especially through turn 1. It's very easy to run yourself out wide. Sorry, turn 3. Due to the high-speed nature of that track. And so it is very easy to pick up an off-track and validate your lap time. It seems as if Munoz has done it again on that lap because he still fails to register a lap, as Tyler Tzube is going to come across the line to complete another lap, and that one won't count on the leaderboard either. And even he has only put in 2 representative laps from his 5 attempts.
There's a few drivers that have done a lot of laps but never, or are not registering times, so you can tell they're definitely pushing the limits. As you said, you can run wide through the exit of turn 3, also through the infield as well. You can cut the corners a little bit more aggressively than you should, which are very easy to invalidate those lap times. So a big important thing too in the race for the drivers, not to get too greedy cutting the corners too aggressively when it comes to race time, because you can get penalised for that as well. We'll probably see some slowdown penalties throughout that as well.
Yeah, most certainly all that's a car that's facing the wrong way. Right, as Karl Modov made his way by. Modov currently 5th. Can he improve? Yes, he can. Puts himself up into 2nd place on the grid. Still 6 cents of drift of Acosta, but it's certainly closer than he was. And he's now made sure there is less than a 10th covering 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Abner Acosta, he's already got a comfortable margin. Can he increase the margin once more as he comes through the final corner now? Getting a good run onto that straight on that BMW M8 machine, using up all the available track on the exit of the corner, and across the line he comes with 1:39.032. It won't be an improvement, but it was still good enough to be quickest out of everyone else out on the track. And Munoz as well puts himself up into 3rd place.
Good lap.
That is a very good lap, considering you hadn't got one in before that. And that's 4 cars covered by 700ths of a second now.
I was going to say too, Acosta's times, his 3 best laps would be enough to put him 1st, 2nd and 3rd on this field at the moment. So he is in another world in regards to his pace. Only one driver left to register a lap time. That midfield as well, you said the top few separated by not much. Have a look from 7th through to 11th. They're only separated by just over a 10th of a second as well. So we're going to have some really, really interesting battle packs. And as we said before, it is tough to pass. You really have to set up your passes very, very well. Much more difficult to do it when you're in a 5-car pack as opposed to a 2 or a 3-car pack. So this is shaping up to be a very, very interesting race. Barcelona always provides close racing. It is a very, very difficult track to pass on. But when you get some very, very close times and drivers very, very evenly matched, it does provide some very entertaining racing.
Certainly does. Christian Eisler then, he's got 2.5 minutes to get to the start-finish line to complete this lap. Justin Ream just found the wall on entry to the chicane as well. Tyler DeZube running around on track just ahead of Christian Eisler. I wonder if we're going to see any late shuffle up in this qualifying order through the chicane. Sausage curbs right on the inside of all of the apexes to this chicane too, so you cannot cut it at all. Got to be very careful not to clip them, because it will damage the undertray of your car on these GT machines too. DeZube navigated it well that time by. Cross the line for him, 39.630. Doesn't improve enough to gain any positions. Horatio Calquin has avoided his lap time. Christian Eisler not able to find any improvement. It is Billy Jansen back there in 14th place. Still one driver yet to set a lap. That's Christopher Albright, who is still out on track. So still a chance of him getting a lap time in, as David Duino is going to come across the line in 16th place with a 40.51. Does find an improvement, but only by 0.02 of a second. James LeBond in 17th, puts himself right in behind him. Didn't do a lap time that time, but where's Christopher Albright out on track? See if he can put in. He's stopped as well. And that is everyone. So let's go through the starting grid here from the Barcelona circuit. Abner Acosta on pole by 0.6 of a second from Karl Modov. And then the pack condenses from 3rd on back. Paulo Munoz there in 3rd. Tyler DeZube in 4th. Horatio Calquin starting from 5th. Ahead of Christian Eisler alongside him. Row 4 occupied by Justin Ream and Christopher Pfeffer. Top 10 rounded up by Caleb John Lavender and Ken Huber.
Row 6 is Jason Ray with Sean Romig in 12th position. Robert Elder and Billy Jansen next on row 7. We've got Tremblay and the Neo on row 8 with LeBlond and Pirello on row 9. Espinoza and Rodriguez row number 10.
21st belongs to Ted Lowendick. 22nd, Jay Steffi. Row 12 going to be Donald Olsen and Sean DeHamel. 25th, 26th, Spencer Semkowicz and Chase Mundy. 27th, Gary Schilling. 28th, Christopher Albright. That is your 28 car field here. A 60-minute race ahead of us. They'll need to make a pit stop at some point. The fuel can go about 40 minutes, so 20-minute window for them to pit. 20 minutes after we get the green and 20 minutes before the checkered flag. And judging by the qualifying times here, Jay, it might not be a close battle for the lead, but every other spot in this field is going to be really, really exciting.
Well, the other thing too is, depending on how hard we see the lead group push, they could stick within the draft, which then means that they stay within the realms of a possible move. So while the pace on paper looks like it's a big gap between first and second, the draft will keep everyone else in. So we could see this be a very, very interesting fight. The other thing with draft means that you're using more fuel if you're the lead car. The cars behind save fuel. Opportunity to overtake through pit stop strategy. So opens up a big window with the difference in pace between everyone out there.
Yeah, it certainly does. Well, we're just waiting for the last of the drivers to grid up here then. Under the sun, track temperature a cool 28 degrees. You can see the Fahrenheit hopefully up on your screen in a moment. Going to be plenty of grip out there for these drivers, and not too much wind to contend with either. As you can see there, just northwesterly winds at 5 miles an hour. Changing as we speak. And plenty of grip out there, so tyre wear won't be too bad for these drivers compared to, say, if it was a 90, 100 degree Fahrenheit track. And that might just offer up a little bit more in terms of how hard they can push. Of course, we don't see anyone taking tyres in GT races because they're pretty enduring as it is.
Yeah, exactly right. Of course, the pit stop strategy means that you don't really want to take tyres because you take tyres separately to fueling the car. So you don't really want to take tyres in a short sprint style race, an hour race. You don't really want to have to take tyres as well. It will cost you too much time, but how hard you can push is very, very different based on the temperature of the circuit. So we might see guys save their tyres a little bit early on and try and push a bit harder later in the race. It's going to be interesting to see though.
Certainly is. As the pace car takes them through the chicane, the field will be put into the hands of Abner Acosta then. As he makes his way around to the final corner. Carl Modov to his outside. Can he play spoiler to the party that Abner Acosta's got lined up for himself today? As he jumps on the throttle, we go green from Barcelona, and Modov immediately jumps into his slipstream. And it's a long, long run down to turn number 1 here, as Tyler DeZube slots in behind Paulo Munoz as well. And the top 5, all single file. Justin Ram going under pressure as Christopher Pfeffer looks down the inside through turn 1 we go. Can the whole field make it through? Nice and cleanly it seems so. A little bit of contact being made for 6th place as Christian Eisler goes by. Christopher Pfeffer and Caleb John Lavender trying to get involved in this one as well, as he's just watching Justin Ram make that move stick, and he will finally manage to clear Eisler when they make their way through turn number 4. The top 5 just for two car length breakaway here as they battle hard, and Christopher Pfeffer gets down to the inside of Eisler, but can't make that one stick.
A little bit of a cheeky move there from Pfeffer as well to get himself clear, but all through safely, which is good to see. Great to see a nice big field of cars 2 through nice and clean. Acosta not able to break away anywhere near as much as everyone may have expected, and the battle for the lead is very, very close. Modov might be able to get a move done. He's just made a little bit of a mistake though.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk in the game too, not just from the commentary box, like sim I should say, with people commenting on how ridiculously fast Acosta was. So we weren't the only ones expecting a big gap to form in this opening lap, but you're right, Modov is right in the slipstream of Abner Acosta. He just bounced over the curbs there coming out of the chicane, and it's really hurt his momentum onto this main straight. As you can see, Acosta diving his car to the right hand side of the track, then bring it back to the left, trying to snake his way down the main straight, trying to shake some of the draft that Modov is getting. He will be nowhere near close enough for a move, but certainly the top 4 or 5, all of them play here for the lead of the race. And in fact, most of the field here, single file, Kenny Rodriguez making it too wide up the inside of James LeBlond into turn 1, gets that move done relatively easily for 17th place. And everyone's just settled in here a little bit, Jay, just to make sure they themselves in the right spot. They know turn 1 is the best place to overtake, so this middle part of the track, most of the track, it's all about just keeping yourself close enough to be within that slipstream range.
Yeah, exactly right. Just want to get a bit of rhythm too. I mean, very, very easy to make a mistake because we've actually got an accident back in the field. 3 or 4 cars involved in this one.
Ooh. That's a peculiar spot, actually, to be in.
Yeah, so Christopher Albright was involved in that. Jay Steffi was involved as well. Coming up to turn 4. It's a very strange incident there, really. Car almost upside down there, that being Jay Steffi. They've all managed to get away from it too, but that was a bizarre incident for sure.
It is. You talk about Christopher Albright being involved. Mentioned he didn't get a qualifying lap in. That's the dangers of qualifying poorly. You put yourself in danger of being involved in those accidents, as we see the onboard here from Gary Schilling just sitting a few car lengths off the back of this group of cars, and then you see the mayhem ensue in front of him, and he tries to pick his way through, just about gets through. Maybe a little bit of damage to that front right. Up front, Acosta has a 5/10 of a second lead back to Modov. Munoz just drifting away in 3rd, but a relatively close battle going on here for 7th and 8th. Christian Eisler coming under a fair bit of pressure from Christopher Pfeffer and Caleb John Lavender as well. So a 3-car battle here for 7th place, just off the back of Justin Ram. Oh, Modov's down the fence! Oh, he's going to be careful. This re-entry here, he's got damage to the front end of his machine. He's just backed it into the fence too. He's in a really awkward spot. He's going to have to let the entire field go by. Gets that car going back onto the asphalt. And that is going to be a case of surely just pushing too hard to stay up there with Abner Acosta. Take a look at the replay here, Jay.
I think this is just a classic self-spin at Barcelona. Also just seen on just the next corner that Caleb John Lavender's gone around as well. So, but yeah, it's very, very easy self-spin to have happen there. Light up the rears a little bit too early. Just hit the AstroTurf or the curb on the outside. No grip out there. Next thing, it's in the fence. So unfortunate for him. But a few cars starting to find a few issues out there at the moment. As I said, Lavender was around, and also just seeing there was another car around as well.
It was Duino that went around as well. So, yeah, a few drivers just struggling out there right now for a bit of grip. And Carl Modov brings his machine down into pit lane. Not surprising, that front end looks a little bit second-hand now after that contact with the fence. Ken Huber under so much pressure. He's been elevated from 10th to 8th. He's got Sean Romig and Jason Ray tucked right up under his rear wing, making the way through turn 3 and into turn 4. Oh, look at that late dive from Sean Romig. Boy, that was lucky. Jason Ray shut that door firmly, and Romig had to really backpedal there to avoid making contact with his right rear.
Yeah, very, very close there. Just on your comment about struggling to get temp in the tyres, we talked before the race that the track temp was nice and cool, so we'll see the tyre wear be a little bit better over the long haul of the race, but looks like the drivers are struggling to actually get temperature into the tyres to start with. So you got your pros and cons of having it a bit cooler. While it's great for later on in the race, your tyres are still going to be in good condition. Getting heat in the tyres looks like it's very, very difficult. There's a lot of mistakes out there and a lot of solo spins going on, which is something you don't see a huge amount in GTE machinery unless the tyres are cold. So pressure's probably a little bit too low for a few of these drivers.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off, isn't it? When you get cool track temp, you certainly find yourself going a bit faster out on track. The tyre temp struggles to get up. You've got an extremely hot track temperature. Your tyre is going to be hot before you've even started the race almost, but you're going to have zero grip out there. The track's going to be sliding around heaps, so it's a trade-off. I'll still take a cold track over a hot one any day of the week, but you've got to be careful when you do head out there on colder tyres. I'm sure these drivers dreading the day that new tyre Model 7 comes to these cars too, because that will add a whole other level of slippiness to these machines when they come, which I say will probably be pretty soon, because we've got them to the oval cars too now. They're slowly making their way to most of the cars on the servers. And I've got to say, Jay, it has been a definite improvement.
100%, as we just see Jeff Corello around at the exit of turn 1. And a little bit of damage to the front of his car as well. We'll get a replay up on screen and see what's happened, whether it's another self-spin or whether there's been a little bit of help. I've got a feeling this one might be a self-spin. Oh, maybe he's been hit from behind. Yeah, it's definitely a self-spin. Just clip the curb on the inside and enough to rotate the car around. So, what's that, 5 or 6 self-spins we've seen now in this race?
Yeah, something like that. Struggling for a little bit of rear stability out there. There's a big train of cars lined up behind Paulo Munoz, who is now the first car in line behind Acosta, 2 seconds adrift of him. Munoz, Deserbe, Calquin, Rayam, and Isla. Oh, and Pfeffer too, all lined up. So that's 2nd through to 7th, all on a big train. Not really able, anyone, to make any inroads on the other, as we see a bit of a mishap there at the hairpin too. But these guys all probably just saving a little bit of fuel as well, being tucked up in a big slipstream battle.
You're talking about the issue at the hairpin there too. Tremblay had a self-spin as well, but yeah, I think there's a lot of fuel saving going on because the pace is a lot slower than what we saw in qualifying at this early stage. We're only 8.5 minutes into the race, but the pace is nowhere near as fast as we were expecting. So a lot of fuel saving going on. The only driver into the or below the 100-second bracket is Acosta. Everyone else is in that higher echelon. Oh, huge incident for Tremblay.
Oh, Munoz goes off too.
Yeah, big incidents at the same time. Tremblay actually jumped over the sausage curbs, a sleeping policeman at the inside of turn 1 as Isla through.
Yeah, Isla capitalizes on Munoz's mistake there, and now only Pfeffer, the only driver not to get by him after that mistake. He just ran wide on entry to turn number 4, and it cost him dearly. Goes all the way back to what'll be 6th place in this group of cars. Now going to have to attack Christian Isla as he gets a little bit sideways on entry to that corner. Just pinched the rears, which is probably one of the easiest mistakes to do in a GTE machinery. There's no ABS or any of that sort of... Well, there's no ABS, so it's definitely a balancing act between brake pressure and leaving us... Use your words.
I know what you're trying to say. But the other thing too with these cars, of course, very, very limited in regards to the downforce. The downforce isn't there like you would expect. So while they got these big rear wings and big front splitters, they don't provide anywhere near as much downforce as you would expect. So getting your brake pressure right, understanding where there's grip out on the circuit is so crucial. But it looks to me from watching at the moment that there's a few guys that haven't quite set their cars up for race trim as opposed to qualifying trim. They set it up for a fast race car, but now that they're 10 minutes into a stint, they're really starting to struggle for grip. So we could see a few tyre adjustments, tyre pressure adjustments come pit stop time to try and get a bit of extra grip, just tweak the tyres, change some settings out there to try and get the cars to go a bit faster, behave a little bit more friendly. But Acosta, how quick is he at the moment? Still flying out in front. The rest of the pack all settled into a rhythm. The driver's not looking as comfortable as you would have expected, but I think in the next 10 minutes, once pit stops start, that'll be when the strategy games come in, the fuel saving ends, and we get into the real battles.
Yeah, while we were chatting away, you saw Lowendyke pass Espinosa as well down in the turn 1. Espinosa just tagged those brakes a bit to let him sweep around the outside of turn 2. Turn 1 and 2 is one of those places where late on in the race, someone makes a move for turn 1, you can definitely stay around the outside. Now the inside run for turn 2, and then turn 3 is a sort of ebb and flow corner. You'll find an advantage early on the inside, but the outside is going to come back at the back end of the corner. But at this stage, in just 12 minutes in, there was no reason to hold there for Espinosa, and he's just happy to sit in behind Lowendyke now too. So it's actually one of the closest battles on this track, coincidentally. As you mentioned, everyone is settling into a rhythm. And we'll go to P10 because Jason Ray is, they're side by side. Robert Elder down to the inside, takes that spot away, easy as you like. Jason just holding off a little bit on entry to that corner to allow him by. Now Elder is going to have a crack at Sean Romig. He's just a few car lengths in front of him, and he is lapping quicker than Romig too. So that's a battle that's going to close up over the coming laps as well. As you talk about pit stops, Jay, what do you expect to see from the drivers? We're going to see any undercuts. Territorial in this series, we've seen a lot of overcuts happening. No one really wanting to pit early.
Yeah, I think if you're sort of stuck in a big battle pack where you're not really moving ahead and nothing's really happening, so maybe the likes of Munoz in that battle pack at the front, they're also very, very static in their gaps. He might be the one that might be able to make a move by pitting early. He's got nothing to lose. There's a big gap behind. He may lose one spot. So, you know, it's a big gain for a potential move. So he might be the one that might do something different. But yeah, for me, I think the undercut is a lot underutilized in GT series because you get so much good track position, and just driving around by yourself a lot of the time to find a rhythm can be enough to gain you a lot of time. So yeah, I think someone will do it, but I'm not sure who it will. I think someone has to do it to try and break up what's going on in the pack, because if they continue as they are, might find themselves in no man's land with nothing to gain from doing the same as everyone else anyway.
The other thing to note was staying out longer as well, as the fuel wears out of the car, and we talk about the tyre life being pretty decent in GT machinery. You generally find yourself going quicker and quicker. Obviously fuel doesn't come free, it weighs an absolute ton, and so you start off with a full tank of fuel. You get around to the end of your stint, you're running on fumes, you're going to be going pretty quickly out there, and you won't be filling the car up very much either, because you'll have less fuel to put in to get to the end. So there's that advantage too. You generally find yourself going quicker if you go with the overcut strategy in GT machinery. In other cars where tyre wear is paramount, that's where we generally see the undercut work, but in these sorts of cars, it's just one of those things where it just doesn't quite work as much.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't work as much, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work ever. That's the big thing. It can work if you position yourself well. If you're a driver that's going really, really quickly in comparison to the driver ahead and you can't get past, that is when you go and do that undercut, because it will work, give you some track position. If Pfeffer can't get past Munoz here because he's closing that gap down, we might see that move happen there, but it's now on for third position. Kalkrin's closed up that gap quite quickly in the last lap and a bit.
Maybe in second position there too, Jay. Kazube right in front of him.
Yeah.
And Kalkrin couldn't come in the meat in the sandwich as Justin Rehm closes on him. He closes on Kazube. This 4-car battle as Christian Eisner's there as well. Munoz has lost a bit of pace. He was running in second. We saw the field start to back up to his rear end a little bit, but now he's just fallen off after making that mistake and running off into the gravel. And as you mentioned, coming under a bit of pressure from Christian Pfeffer. So these two just struggling to stay with this battle for second as Justin Rehm runs himself a little bit wide through turn 3 there. And Dazube's got to be careful he doesn't make any mistakes here, otherwise Kalkrin's going to be close enough to use the slipstream to his effect down the main straight, or even down the back straight too. As we get closer to this pit window, you definitely think about making an undercut strategy. It's just the lap time, so lapping about the same, to be honest. Justin Rehm the quickest of the 3 actually. So if you're lapping about the same, you're probably not going to find the improvement that you're looking for with the undercut. But if the gap was, if he was say maybe 2-3 tenths a lap faster, and then when he gets up to his bumper, that's when the lap times normalize, you would expect to see the undercut come out. But at the moment, he's not close enough to really be held up by him. So I've got to suggest he doesn't quite have the outright pace over Dazobe.
Not at the moment, no. But then again, is he just playing mind games? Is he just happy saving fuel? Does he actually have the pace but isn't showing it at this stage? He's waiting for after the pit stops. There's all sorts of gamesmanship that goes on in these little battles. Interesting, it's gone from a 6-car fight back to a 4-car fight because Munoz and Pfeffer have dropped off the back of this pack now. So we've gone from having a larger group of cars back to a slightly smaller one. Doesn't mean that the pack's any less exciting though, because they're all really playing mind games. You look at how they're driving, I think they are all faster than what their actual pace is showing right now. I think they're just waiting for the other one to blink or the other one to make a mistake.
See Jeff Carollo on screen has had an issue. He's missing the front end of his machine. And he is currently back in 24th position. So that car is going to be coming down a pit lane, I dare say. And he joins a list of drivers to run into issues out there on the racetrack. See a replay up on screen, Jay.
Yeah, so just saw the replay just before he lost control through the midfield section. Another self-spin, a little bit surprising to see it now at this point, but yeah, did lose it through the midfield of the circuit, so brings it into the pits. He might be day done because that car is looking very, very second-hand right now.
This is quickly becoming a 6 or a 7 car train, because Dazube is probably the weakest of the guys. Justin Rem's really closed up to the back of Horatio Calquin. But behind Munoz and Pfeffer now is Gary Schilling. He's closed up onto the back of them as well. So Schilling has got some decent pace out there.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's a couple of lap cars in amongst it too.
Schilling is 2 laps down. So disregard what I just said. Yeah. But you never want to see a laps car come out behind you. It's just a little bit off-putting, especially if you've got to make a move and you back off through a previous corner, set up the run for the next one. You just hope the laps car doesn't poke his nose up in the way. Certainly Justin Rem is not a lap down, and it's definitely putting a lot of pressure on Horatio Calquin. I think if anyone's tried the undercut strategy in this group, it'd probably be him.
I think you're right. I think based on how it's playing out now, as you just see another car around, Rodriguez has gone around. That's in between turns 1 and 2, and I think we're going to see yet another self-spin. Could be another one, could it?
Talk us through it.
Yeah, so turn 1. What am I saying? So we're on board at the moment with Rodriguez, and there is absolutely nobody around him, front or behind. So I think he just clips the curb. Yep, clips a little sausage curb, unsettles the car on the inside. As soon as it lands, around it goes. No saving that one. So Rodriguez drops a few spots, gets it going again. We're back into 16th position. And Calquin now is really looking like getting this move done. He's very, very close in behind that rear wing of the Ferrari ahead.
He is. Let's see if he can make a move then. At the end of this main straight, a good exit for Horatio Calquin. And as well, getting the benefit of a distance slipstream from Tyler Dazube is not going to be helping Justin Rem, because it does pull Horatio along a bit and almost mitigates the slipstream effect that Rem gets on him as he gets very close into turn 1. Just runs a little bit wide through the exit, compromising himself through turn 2. And then again, on the entry to turn 3, he's got to fight a bit harder to get the car into the optimal racing line. It's one of those pieces of racetrack where a mistake in the first part will cost you for the next 2 or 3 corners.
It's a tough little section because, yeah, as you said, it's such a high-speed section too. So when you do make a mistake, which inevitably everyone does at turn 1 at some point, through turn 2 and then the huge turn 3, you're so far down on straight line speed or on pace that it does cost you a fair chunk of time. You are susceptible to getting positions lost, but you can hold on around the outside at likes of turn 4 to set up turn 5. So in the next few laps, we might start to see drivers ambitious enough to try moves around the outside, as the pit window is likely open from now as well.
Yeah, just about 8 minutes away from the halfway mark of this race, and I think we've got probably about 15 minutes before we'll see everyone in pit lane. There'll be a flurry right at the end of the pit stop window as drivers come in. It's quite a big pit stop window, to be honest. You often see a pit stop window of about 4 or 5 laps, so to speak. But the fuel range of these cars, being a 60-minute race, you can do about 40 minutes. So you can pit 20 minutes from the green. You can pit 20 minutes from the checkered flag. I mean, that makes it a 20-minute window where you can pit, which is actually quite a bit.
It, as I said, it opens up strategy, but it looks like the way that it's playing out at the moment, everyone's happy to do the same. Interesting that Munoz and Pfeffer have closed back in on the back of this group again. So we're back to another 6-car train. Although Zube and Kalkin, their gaps opened up to just on a second. But the rest of that group now, all fairly close. Corello has got, Gary Schilling's got out of that group now, and he has dropped back so that he's not involved in that lead group. But it's really close.
Yeah, Paulo Munoz has found a bit more pace. We said he was struggling a few laps ago, along with Christopher Pfeffer, who's put himself away from Pfeffer now, and getting closer to the back of Christian Isler, who was 0.2 of a second quicker last time by 0.3 quicker than Justin Ram, 0.2 quicker than Horatio Kalkin, who's actually the fastest driver of this leading group of cars. Christopher Pfeffer just about 100th of a second slower than him. For comparison, Talon Zube was 10th quicker than those guys, so he's actually pulling away out front. 200th quicker than Abner Acosta, who doesn't need to push. He's probably not pushing at all, really. 5.8 seconds out in front. No reason to be aggressive, as just noticed the track just got a whole lot darker over this part of the circuit as a bit of cloud cover comes over. And with the dynamic sky that iRacing brought in a couple seasons back.
Crash back in the field there. That was Semkovic, and I believe was that Tremblay, who's come back out on the circuit after his issues earlier on, made secondary contact. So self-spin just coming up here, first part of this incident. Semkovic, again, just losing the rear of the car, and then watch his secondary impact here from Tremblay. Comes around the corner, thinks, oh, well, this car's going to get out of the way. All of a sudden, bang, huge impact and heavy damage. Again to Tremblay's car for the second time in this race. Unfortunate for him to have a little bit of bad luck, and then that's just very unfortunate to have a car coming back on the circuit right in front of him.
One of those days for Tremblay today. And the finish line point, as I said, the track got a bit dark over the final portion of the circuit. With the dynamic sky that iRacing brought in a few seasons ago, which was one of the best additions we've had to the iRacing service, in my opinion, it brings in a whole other dynamic where we talk about track temp, we talk about how the temperature affects the tyres. Even across the start of the track to the back of the track, it's completely different. There might be more grip at the rear end of the circuit than there is at the front of the circuit, so to speak. Obviously the cloud cover comes over, it pulls the track off a little bit. There'll be a little bit more grip out there, the car doesn't slide as much, it's not got that greasy feeling on the circuit where the sun's shining. And it can just make a difference in the battles too.
Yeah, it can really change the way you try and set up moves as well, because if you know that there's a section of circuit that's got a little bit more cloud cover, a little bit different in regards to grip, it can change how you approach or set up a move or a potential move. Whether you even go for the move is then dependent on what the weather conditions are out there. So I think we're probably going to start to see drivers look to set up these moves a little bit more as we approach the halfway point. Kalkin has gone from the attacker to the defender now. He looks in a lot of trouble. His pace has dropped off, and Munoz, as we said before, his pace was not looking great. He was dropping off the back of his field. He has closed up so quickly and now looks the most likely to gain moves, or gain positions, I should say.
He does indeed. Just going to have a look here. Yeah, so he's 0.3 of a second quicker than Isaac last time by 10th quicker than everyone else. Quickest driver of this group. Could be down to just the way his tyres are cycling. When he got off into that gravel, we've talked about a little bit before of how different the grass and gravel seems to feel this season. There's a few explanations being thrown around as to the reason why. We'll leave those alone for now. But they're, well, to be blunt, they're very slippery. A lot more than they were in previous seasons. Don't know why, but they do just have a massive effect, and they do seem to really affect the tyres immediately afterwards as well. That could be why Munoz was dropping off.
The other thing too to note is that Munoz and Rem both looking quick teammates. Isler and Kalkin both looking a little bit slower at this phase of the race. Teammates. Is there something in the way that the drivers set up their cars, because they no doubt would be running very similar or identical setups? That could be why we're seeing the two cars at the back of these two little groups now a little bit quicker, a little bit more likely to get moves done, and the two ahead defending is maybe the way that they've got setups.
That is a very decent point to make as well, because it is an open setup series that can have about as big of effect as the driver behind the wheel can. And each driver has his own setup that he'll prefer as well, because for one driver, say I might like a setup that's nice and loose to drive. You might like a setup that's does the driving for you, so to speak. But I have a point I was going to make. I've lost my train of thought. Help me out, Jay. Each driver prefers a different setup.
I'll take it in a different direction. Albright, you can see on screen, he's actually had a big self-spin, clipped the sausage curb coming out of turn 7 and nearly rotated the car sideways and forward, flipping the car. So he's had a big moment back in the field, so he's out of the race now. But yeah, you're right. Some people have little tweaks in regards to how they have the cars set up that suit their driving style more than the others. So, for example, when I used to race, I used to have a lot more oversteer in the car as opposed to, understeer in the car as opposed to oversteer. Teammates would have slightly different ways that they'd set the car up. The core of the car is set up the same. Just you have those slight little tweaks where you set the car up slightly personal for how you like your oversteer, understeer, or maybe you have one tyre a little bit different in regards to tyre pressure based on how much turn you have in the car, which will then heat up the tyres slightly differently as well.
.6 seconds now is the cap for Abner Acosta. It's looking all plain sailing for him out front. The battle continuing to rage for second on back. Zube slowly being good at my ratio. Calvin once more. Rame going with him. Isa still under pressure for Munoz. This group of cars has been very close to each other for about 20 minutes now, but no one seems to be able to get close enough to make a move.
Now, the other thing that we haven't really talked about is the aero does make it very tough to pass. While it does help you bring yourself up really close to another car ahead, it doesn't make it easy to overtake. So while we're seeing guys close in that gap, getting the move done is not as easy as you would think. But I think we're going to see someone try and jump in the pits. I think one of the guys, Rem, Munoz, one of those two are going to jump in because they've got so much more pace right now. And you can see Calquin making mistakes as well. So this is now meaning that Rem, a lot quicker, should be ahead, just can't quite get it done. Pit stop, or the pit lane is the easiest spot to get the move done, but as we've said, undercut doesn't always work in these cars.
It doesn't. Let's see then if Rem decides to pull out a pit lane. He does, then delivers Munoz. Both of them actually could be within striking range come turn 1. They both were extremely close to the chicane. The gap to the preceding car for both of them is about the same, coincidentally. As we watch Justin Ram in the slipstream of Horatio Calquin, not going to get close enough in the background, neither is Paulo Munoz. The fact that these guys are in a big train, for Munoz, it's tough for him to make the slipstream work because Ice is getting a distant draft off Justin Ram, who don't just hear a car go around. No, but someone got their car a little bit sideways through the first 3 corners. And yeah, for Justin Ram, Calquin's getting a draft off of Zube too. So I said it earlier, but it just makes it so much more difficult to make it work into turn 1 because they're being pulled along by a preceding car. And when turn 1 is the best spot to make an overtake, it just seems to limit the overtaking for the rest of the track.
100%. And also on that, you can see that Isa in turn 1, he was starting to defend. That's the first time I've seen a real big defensive move from any of these drivers in this pack. So Isa is really starting to feel the pressure from behind from Munoz. Calquin's making mistakes. So it's at a point where someone is going to have something happen. As I've just seen also, Zube also has made a little mistake. He's had that gap closed down a tiny little bit. So we've got another car in the pit lane. That's Gary Schilling coming to make his pit stop. See if anyone comes in this time. As we're past the halfway point. We've got around about 18 laps of racing left or so. So still a long way left in this race. No takers.
Christopher Pfeffer has got right up to the back of Paulo Munoz too as well. So in fact, he might be the first person to be able to make a move here. He's extremely close to the back of him down this long front stretch. Still not close enough to make the move stick, but Munoz is going to have to really worry about defending now as well as attacking. It's one of the toughest things to do in racing, is be the meat in the sandwich when you're trying to attack the guy in front, but defend the guy behind. And Munoz is going to be under pressure here into turn 4, because here comes Christopher Pfeffer down to the inside, takes the spot away, and he moves himself up into P number 6 now. Munoz, he looked like he was going to make the overtake work on Christian Eisler just a lap ago, but suddenly he finds himself now back in P number 7.
He made that easy too. He didn't really fight that position, defend it too hard across teammates as well. So fairly easy move there for Pfeffer. So got through, just great momentum through turn 3, was able to carry the speed, and then just pulls alongside at the exit of 3. And then you'll see Munoz on the brakes early. No point fighting that as they go under the Repsol Bridge, and all done. Pfeffer back into position number 6.
Interesting to see teammates running different cars.
Yeah, personal preference thing again. We've seen it in a lot of different GT series where teammates run different cars. I mean, we saw it at the Bathurst 12-hour event on the weekend. We saw teammates running different cars. So you see it a lot more than you would expect in this, considering there's so much difference in regards to setup. But some drivers just cannot drive the different sorts. We see it a lot in GT3 racing as well, where, for example, someone will only be able to drive the Ferrari and someone else will only be able to drive the Mercedes. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, a lot more work for the teammates to work on setup, but I'm sure there's reasoning behind it. As we've got another car around in the background.
I'm going to take a wild guess that it was a self-spin.
Haven't seen if it's a self-spin, but Duino around at the hairpin in the midfield. We'll pick up a replay and see what's happened. But I think you're right. I'm going to say it will be a self-spin.
Oh, he's all by himself, so...
Yeah, BMW is a long way back behind, so I think it's going to be yet another self-spin. We almost needed a self-spin counter for today, because I've never seen so many self-spins in a race with this sort of machinery as we have in this one.
Word of the day then, going to be self-spin. We've used it about 30 times already.
Is it one word or two?
We're going to use it. Oh. Don't do that to me, Jay. Check
But
out
our
that
first
brain
pit
work.
stop.
Hey, first pit stop then. Who was it actually? I didn't quite catch that.
Lavender in the pits.
Lavender has been having a very quiet race, hasn't he? Pitted from...
Of course, he was involved in that incident earlier on where he lost a whole heap of position,
exactly.
so he's well and truly out of sync with where he should be. He's rejoined back in 21st, almost gone a lap down, but those guys ahead will probably come in now. Here we go, first pitter, Munoz in.
He just lost out to Christopher Pfeffer. Now he brings his machine down into pit road, trying to find a spark to get some oil juicing running through that machine once more to find some extra time, because he's been going in phases, it seems, between finding pace, losing pace, finding it again, losing it again. He doesn't seem to be consistent over a big stint here, which is just hurting him a bit. It will definitely hurt him in a race where he needs to get the best result he can, with Abner Acosta looking like he's surely going to open up the championship lead once more. Already picked up the bonus point for pole position. Wouldn't surprise me if he picked up the bonus point for fastest lap as well. So this is big, and it's big for Christian Eisler as well. He's back in 5th place. He can't afford to drop spots here. If you get into the final round within a mathematical chance, you never know what can happen. We've seen crazy finishes to championships in sim racing and in the real world. You never know what can happen. You need to give yourself the best shot possible, even if it looks unlikely.
Yeah, 100%. You need to make sure you're there. If you've got yourself an opportunity to just see Calquin defensive into the hairpin, Justin Rem, horrible night for Modoff as well. So this is a big championship changing round, isn't it? With all of the contenders all having really different experiences at this track. But Justin Rem, I'm thinking he's going to come into the pits this time. Maybe only 2 more laps before the pit window closes. So everyone will be likely in the next couple. Will we see Rem in? No, he stays out. Calquin comes in, and also Pfeffer in as well. Cut the chicane, cut the final corner to try and get to the lane. Almost hit the tyre bundle.
I wonder if we'll get a penalty for that, because you got to make sure you get down to pit lane before the commitment cone. well, an oval before the commitment cone. On road racing, there is also a commitment cone in iRacing where you will get a penalty. We've seen this in real life. We saw it at Hockenheim 2 years ago. Lewis Hamilton in Formula 1 didn't get a penalty for it. He went in, he went out, he went back in, he went back out. And that was a massive debate because it is a general rule. You've got to commit before the pit lane breaks away from the racing surface.
Calquin and Munoz the same sort of pit stop time. Pfeffer a little bit quicker in his stop time, so he's come out just behind Calquin. Was almost going to make a move, but he's made a mistake.
Yeah, he'll be very disappointed with that one. He's cost himself a decent shot there. We'll have to make it work. Where have they come out relative to Paulo Munoz too?
Just ahead. Only just ahead. Maybe a second and a half. 2 seconds in live timing, it says. So not too far away. That's just that one lap advantage. But Pfeffer gained a second in the stop, so he was happy tucked in under the rear wing saving fuel. If he hadn't have made that mistake at turn 1, he would possibly have got that spot on Calquin.
Yeah, definitely. And he's going to be ruining that mistake. I'm just looking at a slow car down the back straight too. Jay Steffi, I think his car's alright. I think he's just letting some lead lap cars go by him. So, any takers to pit lane this time by? No, Dazubi goes by, Justin Rem goes by, as does Christian Eisler. And yeah, Kyle Modoff, 27th place, 10 laps down. He's slowly eking himself out of championship contention with this race. Needs almost a miracle in the final 2 rounds. I've actually completely lost Paulo Munoz on my game. There we go, now I find him, and yeah. Oh, Pfeffer. His car, it just propped up onto the sausage curb, coming out of the final corner. Or as the Americans call it for some reason, the turtles, as we see in NASCAR.
Turtles?
The Roval. That's what they call it, the Roval, isn't it? They call them the turtle curbs.
Of course, in Britain, they call them sleeping policemen. They're curbs. They're just curbs.
Sausage curbs. They look like sausages. And Munoz probably got a decent look at Pfeffer almost losing it across the top of Thorn, coming under the penultimate corner.
That's what we've been seeing, though. I was just going to say that they've all been so aggressive that they're really pushing the limits to try and get as much time as they can, which does run the risk of them running off the circuit, hitting those curbs, unsettling the car and putting them in the fence. So it is a possibility that that stuff can happen based on the commitment that these guys are trying to show.
100% as Abner Acosta brings his race-leading BMW M8 GTE down into pit lane at a measly 80 kilometers an hour. Justin Ram will go through to retain the lead of the race. Christian Eisler will move through into second. I don't think there's too much pressure on Acosta here unless he horribly overfuels his machine. He's going to rejoin with a comfortable lead.
He's overfilled the car, if anything.
Yeah, he probably has, but he can afford to just be a little bit cautious, can't he?
Yep. Yeah, the other thing with that, though, he probably has used more fuel because he's been out there by himself. He's had no one in front of him, no one behind him. So he has used more fuel just based on that. But good battle now between Pfeffer and Calquin. Pfeffer's closed that gap back up again.
Yeah, he's about, what is he? He was 4/10 quicker on the last lap than Horatio Calquin, so certainly should have made that move stick coming out of pit lane. Gonna have to not only catch him, but pass him. We know they're two completely different things to do. We see it so often where you're able to catch someone, but you just can't get by them. It's what we've seen earlier today, already in this race. I don't know whether he's actually going to be able to make this move stick. It seems you need a massive amount more pace to get a move done.
We almost lost it then too, coming into turn 5 down the hill. Just got the right-hand wheels in the grass and almost looped it around. So Pfeffer's absolutely pushing at the moment. Christian Eisler also pushing as into the pits come our current leaders in the race, that being Justin Rem and Christian Eisler. So we'll see how the field shuffles out, but Also seeing Calquin not far away from Dzube.
It'll be very intriguing to see where these guys come out. Oh, Justin Remy missed his pit box. He's only just found it now. And he's still stationary. Christian Eyes has jumped in by a long way. And Justin Remy only just leaving his box now. Eyes is already out of pit lane alongside Tyler Dzube. Going to rejoin right in front of Horatio Calquin. Late on the brakes, side by side, the two teammates in the turn number 1. But Isa sweeps across the nose in turn 2, takes the spot away. And Christopher Pfeffer now is going to be all over the rear bumper of Horatio Calquin into turn 3, into turn 4. Does he think about a move? He shows the nose, fills the mirrors, can't get close enough. Two teammates there almost tripping over each other on the exit of pit lane.
Crazy rejoin there for Christian Eisler, but did a great job defending that position. Now, here comes that Ford of Christopher Pfeffer. Will he be able to get the move done? It's a little bit of a role reversal now with who's defending and who's attacking in this little pack now, and who they've got to defend from. Justin Rem now a long way back. He's behind Munoz, but Pfeffer, he looks very strong in that Ford.
He does. Oh, that's a mistake, and that's Pfeffer to the inside. But a little bit of a slide coming out of the corner. Manages to keep the overlap. Trying to go the long way around of Horatio Calquin to the wrong side of the track to the chicane as well. Calquin, defend, he will. Goes into the chicane, they make contact. And somehow they come out of it, all pointed the right way. Door-to-door contact through the first part of the chicane there, and Calquin will lose that spot to Pfeffer, but can he get it back onto turn 1? Pfeffer immediately to the inside of the racetrack, trying to get rid of that slipstream effect that he's got. Paulo Munoz too is catching these guys rapidly as a result of their tussles. It was 2 seconds quicker than Calquin last time by. So they've really got to sort themselves out really soon. And I think now that Pfeffer might be out of the danger zone here. But a bit too late for Calquin because Munoz is now in his danger zone.
Yeah, Munoz, how quickly did he close in? Last time I looked, he was almost 2 seconds back. So he's done a great job closing that in. And Calquin, as you said, will be disappointed that Munoz is there because he was going to try and hunt down Christopher Pfeffer. But now we'll have to defend. For Munoz, who just before that pit stop, he was the fastest car out there in this group. So awesome little fight that we're going to have now for the next 15 or so minutes.
This 15 minutes ticks down and passes on the countdown clock. Should be about 12 or so laps left in this race. As Tyler Dzube was under pressure early, he managed to get himself a decent gap back to Christian Eisler. And it's sitting at about a second now, so Dzube is still not out of the woods just yet. Pfeffer, similarly so. Biggest battle is this one between Calquin and Munoz for 5th place on the track. As Munoz, he gives him a push into the chicane there. And it's hurt himself, in fact, because he drops a ton of time as a result of that. But that is showing just how much extra pace he has. And just behind these guys is just in Rem as well after his poor pit stop where he missed his pit bay. Trying to recover.
Just looking at the pit stop times. The pit stop time was about the same. He lost 7 seconds in regards to pit lane time there. But Munoz, as you said, he cost himself time with that contact. What he's done, he sort of checked himself up to make sure that he didn't spin Calquin. And it's cost him huge chunks of time. He's going to have to work through and try and find a position to, or try and find a spot to get this time back. Now lost around about 7/10 of a second from that little incident there. And will there be enough time for him to close it back? We know he's got pace, but that was such an opportunity for him to get that move done.
It was, but it won't be the opportunity. I think he's going to get another one because Even after all that lost time, he's closed his way back up now to about 3 car lengths of drift. He's making their way out of the back straight and into this tight and twisty final sector of the racetrack. The thing is,
fight going on here too, right? Between the 9th and 10th too, between Elder and Roaming. These guys are getting very, very close at the moment.
indeed, roaming on the attack here, and I can make this point for these guys as well. When you're behind someone, you've got to be sure that the move's going to work. If you just start lunging at them needlessly, you're going to ruin opportunities at better corners later on by basically increasing the gap, because if you lunge on the entry, you're going to lose out massively on the exit for really no gain at all. Romig has done it perfectly for the chicane. I say to it, Munoz, just be nice and patient, and then onto this main straight. Romig going to get a massive slipstream effect on Robert Elder here, and should be close enough to look up the inside. There goes the move, shows the nose, pulls that car to the inside line, late on the brakes, dead heat into turn number 1. Elder going to hold on around the outside, and into turn 2, going to be compromised into turn 3 though. Needs to just hold that car on the apex to prevent the crossover move from Sean Romig. They make their way out of turn number 3 and into turn number 4. Romig will get up the inside. Elder tries to defend. Another had shades of Mercedes 2016 all over it. Luckily, they managed to escape, as now Romig so much extra pace that he's not able to find a way by. This is a fantastic defense from Robert Elder. A little bit sketchy into turn number 4. They just about escaped. Some great heads-up driving from Romig too, not to force that issue there too, because that could have so easily been a crash.
Some really, really good defensive driving there, considering how aggressive he hit the curb, did Robert Elder through that final chicane. Unsettled the car so much, he lost so much momentum, but somehow held on. But he's got to be careful, because now he knows that Roaming is really, really strong. He knows where Roaming's strong. Roaming knows where Elder is weak. This is going to be an interesting fight. I can see them going side by side again at the end of turn 1.
As long as Romig gets through this last section nice and smoothly. To the right, to the left, get it back to the right. You can't cut this corner because of the sausage curve. You can't run wide because of another sausage curve. It's actually an extremely tough corner when you take into account the fact that it proceeds under such a long straight and the exit is so crucial. It's incredibly tough to get your line right lap after lap through there. Sean Romig just a little bit too far back this time by. Elder's just got to make sure he doesn't run wide through turns 1, 2, or 3 and offer opportunity at turn 4. But as I say that, he's run wide at turn 1, so Romig will probably try to set himself up for the good exit here. Elder doing a good job. This is textbook defensive driving, not defending unless he absolutely needs to, just hitting his marks, hitting his lines, and letting Romig find his way by him, which he's not been able to do as he runs wide again. He looks like he is struggling out though, does Elder. And it's just about Romig almost getting into the back of them. And it's just about last-ditch stuff for Elder here, because if we get down to the final few laps, under 10 minutes left on the clock, he can afford to be aggressive in his defense, but he's just got to be careful.
Elder just needs to maintain his normal line. I don't think he needs to defend this spot too hard, because he's still got decent pace on the corner exit. And often the best defense is a good attack, so if he can continue to attack the corner and attack the circuit, make sure he hits every apex, which he just missed the apex at the hairpin. If he makes every apex, he holds onto the position, but a mistake, another mistake there for Elder. This is opening the door right up for Sean Romig right now. I don't know where he's going to be able to get the move done, because Elder's just got enough pace. Another mistake. This is an incredible little fight here. And the mistakes are just coming at all the wrong spots, and Romig's just hit the curb at the chicane. Momentum done. He's going to have to try all over again. That's a lap that he's wasted just based on that one mistake at the chicane, at the final chicane there.
Yeah, and Elder's either just not comfortable with this machine anymore, or maybe he hasn't been for the whole race, haven't seen too much of him actually, or he's just succumbing to the pressure of having Romig all over him and just a paper's width between them through turn number 2. And he's almost pushing him around the first sector of this racetrack. This is where his best opportunity is. It's this first sector, turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. But the rest of the track, Elder's got just enough in the bag, as even though he continues to run wide of almost every corner now. Here we go, turn 5. This might be the spot. Elder has to defend. Romig forced to go the long way. What about the crossover move? Get the late apex and the run down. into turn number 6. He's got a decent run. I don't know if he's close enough. Is he going to think about the late lunge? He thought about it, didn't do it. Elder runs wide though, pressure, and almost rejoined into the side of Romig, but Romig sweeps through, takes that spot away. And in the end, it will be a mistake from Elder that cost him that spot.
Yeah, just forced the mistake too, didn't he? He didn't try and make a move, just almost faked Elder into the mistake, making it look like he was going to have a late lunge. And then a very, very smart move into turn 6. Just behind too, there's another little battle starting to open up. Those front guys that we saw battling at the start, they've ended their fights. Everyone else is now starting to battle, but that was a great move in the end there for Sean Romig. Seeing on replay, what's that, 26 million self-spins now. Kenny Rodriguez around in the middle of the circuit. So he's rejoined now back in 18th position. Elder's not giving up this fight now. He's actually closing that gap back in again.
Slipstream is a wonderful thing. It really keeps you in play if you're only a little bit off the pace. Not massively. It can just give you the edge. And when you're chasing someone too, you do find a little bit of time in yourself. You can use them as a bit of a reference, but I don't think Elder's got enough in this car left. That Porsche is definitely struggling a little bit now. And I think Romig from here is probably comfortable enough to take this one through to the finish. And just having a look, top in front of them, there's no real battles happening in front. Everyone's just about sorted themselves out and just trying to make it home to the end now.
Costa's still the fastest car out on track, pretty much consistently doing the mid to high 140 bracket. Some drivers are slowly, are getting a little bit quicker than him in regards to one lap pace, but all of a sudden they drop the pace back off again. But so consistent in this race has been Costa. Again, I think that's his slowest actual race lap. He's just done there a 1 minute 41. 1 minute 41.0 though, so still a very, very good lap time. Only one other driver below the 1 minute 40 bracket, and that was Dazube, but he's just ruined that because he's back in the 141s as well. So everyone else is still slower than Acosta, who's absolutely flying out there at the moment and just continuing to build that lead out. He's done a fantastic job this race. You know that you've had a good one when you're just so far out in front, you've done nothing but just lap.
And yet we still can't say it's in the bag because the commentator's curse is real and it has struck so many times. So we'll keep our mouths shut on the likelihood of that one coming home in a victory.
Justin Rem's closed up on that last lap. Sorry to cut you off. The last lap by was a second quicker than Munoz and Calquin ahead.
I'm used to you cutting me off, Jay. You don't commentate enough. You don't wait enough for the caps. Jay is too used to directing. Is this the first time you've actually commentated a race without directing it, Jay?
Oh, thank you. The first time in 5 years that I've commentated a race without being the producer at the same time. So it has been a little while. Almost forget what to do.
Jay's just sat there between talking, just twiddling his thumbs. What do I do now? Help! But yeah, this battle for P5 is definitely heating up right at the end here. Horatio Calpin under pressure from Pfeffer. Oh, sorry, not Pfeffer, Munoz and Rem. Definitely a high chance of a move being made late on here as they make their way through the chicane. Calquin taking a very good line that gives him a very good exit, in fact. And he's able to just launch out of that final corner. He had a little bit of a twitch to that long sweeping final corner, actually, but gathered it up pretty nicely. Has enough of a gap over Munoz, not to worry. Justin Rem dropped a lot of time there. Didn't catch what happened to him, though.
Yeah, I think he just bounced it off the curb a little bit through the final chicane and just had to regather the car. Cost him a little bit of time, but he has pace, so he'll close that gap back in. Probably 3 laps to go, so not long left in this race at all. But also wondering whether Calquin may have used his tyres up a little bit too aggressively and now starting to struggle a bit with grip. The front of the car looks like it's not quite as grippy as he would like. He's struggling to turn it in. Also just noticed too, there's a little bit of front end damage, another lock up there too. So a bit of front end damage over that front left-hand wheel could be costing him that tiny little bit of time, tiny little bit of grip that he would prefer to have into the closing stages of this race.
We've got 2 minutes 55 left on the clock. Abner Acosta making his way into the chicane now, so it should be 2 laps to go when he comes across the line, unless my math is failing me. But yeah, will be 2 laps to go here, and that means very little opportunity for Pfeffer is actually closed up on Isla too, but for Rem on Calquin and on Munoz on Calquin. Munoz just, again, showing a bit of impatience. He took a shallow line into the chicane and it's hurt him on the exit. He's just showing a little bit of impatience out there and it's not working.
Only thing that saved him on this lap right now, actually, it looks like it may have an issue because he's pulled all the way over to the track, just trying to get rid of the draft. Actually, Pfeffer's now right up under the rear wing of Isla as well, so the only thing that saved Calquin then was that Munoz hit the curb way too aggressively, wasn't able to get the momentum. But Pfeffer, have a look at how close he is now. He's closed in so quickly. Remember that entire first phase of the race, he was back in 6 and 7. You wouldn't have thought he was a chance of a podium. Well, he is now. It's a great drive back through the field from Christopher Pfeffer.
The gap came down by 0.6 of a second on the last lap. Pfeffer gets a little bit sideways coming out of turn number 4, turn 5 even, and just loses a little bit of a run that he had going. He'll probably close it back up down the back straight and a little bit of a draft. A solid run through there. He's definitely the faster of the two. Well, his best opportunity is going to come down at turn 1. He's only going to have one more shot at that move too, because the white flag will fly when he comes across the line.
And you can see from this point here, he's already trying to set up turn 1. He's taking a different line to get the momentum up, trying to make sure that he gains that speed in the right spot so that he's ready to get the move done. He wants to make sure that he gets in nice and early for breaking into the chicane, so he gets a fantastic exit. A little bit too shallow there, I think, for Pfeffer. He might not be close enough. Clock at 0. We're officially on the last lap. White flag in the air.
Oh, he's close enough. That's a mistake from Isla. Down to the inside, he defends. The run is there for Christopher Pfeffer. They'll go side by side on the drag race down to turn number 1. They're almost making contact, and they do make contact. They escape, and Isla late on the brakes on the inside shallow line, trying to get it pulled up. Can't continue his run up in 3rd place. And Pfeffer will go through and take that spot away. It's about as close as you want to get in a straight line to making contact, and Pfeffer did just enough and took that spot away, and it was a mistake from Isla that set that whole thing up. He got very twitchy through the last corner.
Great move in the end there too, so well done to Pfeffer. It's not over behind though, because Rem is now ready to get the move done. So Justin Rem looking to try and get this move done on his teammate in Munoz, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough. He's going to have to do it at the hairpin, you would think, to get it done. He might be able to get enough momentum out of the final corner, but he really has to get it done before they get into that final sector.
A little bit wide through there onto the back straight, allows Munoz a slight bit of breathing room as he tries to attack on Horatio Calquin as well, but we should probably go to the front for Abner Acosta. 17 seconds out in front. He's going to come through the final chicane. And Abner Acosta, it's about as easy as it gets for him. He wins here at Barcelona, commanding fashion. It's a 10-second margin as he comes across the start-finish line. Dzube will come home second behind him. Isla third. Pfeffer will come home. Oh yeah, sorry, Pfeffer home in 4th. Isla in... You know what I mean. Pfeffer in 3rd. Isla 4th. And it was Calquin and Munoz and Rem that crossed the line exactly as they were for the last few laps. None of them were able to make any moves stick.
Still a battle on Lavender trying to get his way back through the field. Remember, he had so many issues early on. Will he be able to get a pass done on the last lap? He's so tight underneath the rear wing of LeBlanc. I actually said on the timing, they've changed position twice in the last 2 laps as well. So these guys are very, very close. LeBlanc might be able to hold on, but one really, really ambitious last opportunity left for Lavender to maybe get a move done. Oh, he thought about it. Mistake.
Can't do it. Run wide off the final corner, and he's just about going to have enough left in that tank as James LeBlanc to come across to the line and 15th ahead of Caleb John Lavender. And I think that is most of the field across the line here. We got a couple of guys back in 20th place. Donald Olsen were the last of the drivers to come across the line behind Gary Schilling in front of him. What we'll do, though, is we will throw to a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, we'll have the unofficial results and interviews live here on GSRC. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm all by myself on the Commons box. Jay's had to run off to, I think, pick up the kids from school. Priorities. Got to make sure he gets the kid home. But thank you, Jay, for jumping in to the Commons box and helping us out here. And we'll go through the official results here from Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. 10.2 seconds was the final margin for Abner Acosta over Tyler Dezube in second. Christopher Pfeffer took it home in third, Eda Christian Liza fourth. Horatio Calquin bringing it home in fifth, at Apollo Munoz and Justin Rem. Ken Huber took eighth, at Sean Romig ninth, and Robert Elder in 10th. 11th went to Billy Jansen, Jason Ray home in 12th. Ted Lowenzik took 13th, at Andre Espinoza, James LeBlanc home in 15th place, and the rest of the results for the other 13 cars behind them will cycle through on your screen as I drag in Tyler Dezube. And Tyler Dezube home in second place today. You had a little bit of a lonely race out there. Talk us through the first stint of the race where you had about 4 or 5 cars lined up behind you.
Yeah, pretty much anyone left in the race in the top 7 could have gotten a podium. So I took a shower before the race, and I think I need to take another one right now. But basically, any mistake, and you're going to get passed. And so I just focus on the basics and hit each apex, smooth out.
Well, you certainly did a good job of it. And after that pit stop phase cycle through, you had a pretty comfortable margin. Christopher Pfeffer was coming at you late on in that race. He was only 1.7 back by the end. Were you really comfortable on fuel? Were you just making sure you got home? Talk us through your mindset with that pit stop phase and how you ended up so comfortably out front in the end.
Yeah, I just had a good pit stop, and it's intimidating when you get back out with that extra fuel. All your muscle memory needs to be reset with even that extra 6-7 gallons or so. And but I had a comfortable lead, and I was always hoping that whoever was 2 cars behind me would fight whoever was right behind me, but that never happened. So yeah, I should have had a beer before the race.
He's certainly did a good job out there. 4th place in the grid, 2nd place at the end. Pretty consistent race for you. Looking forward to the final 2 rounds in the next 2 weeks. You particularly hopeful of some more strong results there?
Yeah, these last 3 I've had pretty poor luck this season, but these last 3 tracks I'm pretty strong at. I guess Sebring next week and Watkins Glen the week after. Even though it seems like a lot of people are strong at those tracks, so we'll see what happens.
Well, good job on your 2nd place tonight. Before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to and sponsors?
Oh yeah, shout out to SRT, the Speedworks Racing Team. Love you guys, and my personal sponsor, Copper and Lily Designs, is an Etsy shop. So feel free to dress up your dog with some of our stuff, and our St. Patrick's Day collection is about to come.
Well, congratulations. We'll talk to you hopefully next time. And let's get Abner Acosta here into the booth. Commanding victory for you today. Your championship lead increases once more. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Yep, was hoping to maximize some points since there's only 2 races left, so I think I got that done.
Yeah, so talk us through that championship. Then you've got 2 races left, as you say. It was just 7 points heading into today before ahead of Christian Eisler. Modolf was 17 back. He's had a pretty terrible day by his standards. How confident are you of taking home this championship now?
Anything can still happen. For example, there were 2 laps left in this race, and my connection almost dropped out. Everything, all the quality, everything went to red. Everything disappeared, and I thought I was gonna get kicked out. So nothing is ever safe. Anything can still happen.
Yeah, I think that's certainly the case. You've got to make sure you're there at the final round. We know everything usually does happen in the final round of a championship. I mean, it was so comfortable out there for you today. There's not really talking points really for your race, other than that was just complete dominance. It was similar to Carl Modolf last round. Was it due to an incredible amount of preparation? Is it just a really strong track for you? What was the difference here today?
Yeah, I practiced a lot. Like I did a lot of laps. I was kind of, I guess I mean, Bathurst wasn't really. It's not really my track, but still, I was sort of disappointed with the lack of pace that I had. So I definitely practiced a lot for this one, and I also, I wanted to get more points or get the maximum number of points just in case for the last race. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of practice.
Well, it paid off most certainly today. Before we let you go, who gets it done for you?
I want to thank everybody in my team from Ivano Racing Team. I want to thank you guys for broadcasting at GSRC, SIMSA, and Butt Kicker for sponsoring the league. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Abner Acosta. And I think we have one more interview to go up here in the booth. Christopher Pfeffer started 8th, finished 3rd. You came through that tight battle from basically 2nd down to you and 8th at the start. Pretty well. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. It was a tough one.
Yeah, it looked like a tough old battle out there for you guys today. Those front group, with the exception of Abner Acosta, 10 miles out in front, were all really close before the pit stop phase. You were the one sort of towards the back end of that little train of cars. We didn't see many moves happening. What was the reason for that? Was it just a case of slipstream was helping the defending cars too much, or what was happening there?
Yeah, the dirty air was quite strong, so it was hard for me to get really within half a second of anybody to even attempt an overtake. So I decided to just chill out and try to save some fuel for the pit stop to see if I could jump.
And the pit stop then, the fuel, it worked out pretty nicely for you. You made a slight mistake, if I recall correctly, coming out of pit road at turn 1.
Yeah, I got a little too ambitious on the brakes, thinking I can get a little bit closer to Horatio in turn 1, and I overshot the corner. I almost spun out. I almost blew it, but I
Just about held on. Very lucky indeed. Last into the race for you, it was pretty busy. Managed to get yourself by Horatio and by Isa as well. How easy were those moves for you? Certainly seemed easier than the first stint.
Yeah, they were both struggling with their tires, especially off the corners. So I was the one on Horatio was fairly easy. We had some slight contact, but it was still a pretty easy overtake. And the one on Eisler, I didn't know if I was going to get him in time, but he made a little mistake out of the final corner, and then I just had a big run on him going down the front straight. And that one was pretty easy.
2 rounds left to go on the championship. What are your hopes in terms of your personal achievement for the championship finish, and how confident are you that you're going to get it done?
I don't really have any championship hopes this season. It's not been a great season for me, but just some good, maybe 2 more podiums would be nice.
All right. Well, look forward to seeing if you can pull that off even. Before I let you go, who are the sponsors you'd like to thank and the people you'd like to give a shout out to?
I got to thank the sponsors, man. You know, G Performance, Russell Sim Racing, Formula Hypersoft, the Butt Kicker, Abruzzi Simware, you guys for the awesome broadcast you do, and RSR Esports for taking me on. I just joined the team a little over a week ago. Those guys are awesome. So thanks to them.
Thank you for joining us up here in the booth. Hopefully we get to talk to you next week as well. And I think that will just about do us here for round 8 of the PRL GTE Sports Car Series from Circuit Barcelona-Catalunya. Been a pleasure calling this one. Let's thank our sponsors once more, Simsa and Butt Kicker, and our organizer, Precision Racing League, for helping to make this all happen. And as well, thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts, which are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks as well go to Gina Londe, who provides the software. Nope, she doesn't. Who provides the wonderful music. You see the screen for how to get hold of for more of her great work. Thanks to the team with me up here in the production booth today, Joe behind the scenes and Jake Kennedy alongside me. Thanks for jumping in to fill in for Stefan Schlacker. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including any upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check it out at our social media on Twitter at GSRC Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. That link is in the description below. Don't forget as well to give us a big like on the stream and hit that big subscribe button as well if you want to miss not a moment more on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Next race for this series, Watkins Glen Boot. That is another track that should offer up some brilliant racing. Other races also listed on screen for other series, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But from all of us here in the booth, thanks for joining us, and until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you next time on the track.